Coming to you from a cozy little condo high atop Old Fourth Ward, Atlanta. Welcome to The Ron Show on America One Radio. Here's your host, Ron Roberts.
So with yesterday's announcement that Mike Collins was going to be entering the U.S. Senate race, there is the matter of his congressional seat. He beat 7 Republican rivals 3 years ago to win the Northeast Georgia House seat. And as was spelled out in today's Politically Georgia podcast, this is where the dominoes start to show themselves as to who's going to try and step in and fill that role. I mean, not to toot my own horn here, but I've already had one of those candidates. And it's the last candidate, of course, the Politically Georgia podcast folks in their column today even mentioned. Okay, listen, I'm not going to give them flack for that. This is mostly a story, for them anyway, about the Republican side and who's going to step up. There are already names. They're expecting State Representative Houston Gaines, who is a Governor Brian Kemp ally, rising Republican. He has about $900,000, they say, banked in his, I would assume, campaign account. Already quietly worked to rack up endorsements across the district, they're telling us. But other familiar names, they write, could jump in. Former Representative Paul Brown, who lost a Senate race in 2014, finished 4th in the 2022 primary that Collins won. That's a bit of a... That's going way back. It's been more than a decade since he's been in office, right? Anyway, he said he's consulting with his wife and friends before making a decision. Okay. They also note that one name you won't see in the mixed state, Senator Brian Strickland, who's running to succeed Attorney General Chris Carr, and said he's not switching the race. And then they get to Democrat Lexi Doherty, an educational consultant who lost to Collins last year and is waging another campaign for the seat in 2026, who said she welcomed the race's changed landscape. She said, "We need our government to work with us, not against us, to make a better life for us and our families. And all we've gotten this year from extremists like Collins is chaos and corruption, while the ultra-rich take tighter control of Washington." Good for her. So I thought I'd start today's show with a good bit of a review of my conversation with Lexi Doherty. It's been almost 2 months ago. That's right. It's been 2 months, 7 weeks to be exact, since we spoke with Lexi Doherty, who was already out and on the campaign trail to succeed Mike Collins, whether Mike Collins was going to run for re-election or not. Let me patch you in a little bit on that conversation from back then. Honestly, you're doing yeoman's work. You're doing the Lord's work, Lexi Doherty, from Georgia's 10th Congressional District, because if you can eliminate the scourge that is Representative Mike Collins from the political lexicon, I feel like he is right there in the Marjorie Taylor Greene mold. And
absolutely,
you know what you have to do to mold. You have to eradicate mold. And I don't mean that in a nefarious, villainous, physical harm sort of way, but the world would be a better place without the political rancor and rhetoric of the likes of Mike Collins and Marjorie Taylor Greene. Anyway, Lexi Doherty joins us. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. Glad to be here.
So Mike Collins is noted for his tweets. He does and says a lot of divisive stuff. He fits right into the MAGA mold. And you are hoping to unseat him in a district that is a mishmash of... It's a little bit like Marjorie's district. It's a mishmash of MAGA and some progressive as well, with Athens being smack dab in the middle of it. I went to college at the University of Georgia. I like to tell people I'm like a 24th year sophomore there, because I never finished. But I lived in Athens for about 5 years. It is a liberal bubble, just a liberal dot in a sea of red. But you've made a go of this before. You're making a go of this again. Tell me how you think things can be different in 2026 and what the strategy is to win over folks outside the liberal blue bubble that is Athens, Georgia.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think the kind of big picture is the political landscape is just different than it was last year. So that's kind of a big part of it. Last year was really tough for Democrats kind of across the board. But I will say, even though we didn't win, I still feel like we were really successful in what we set out to do. Mm-hmm. I knew that this was going to be a long-term project and that I probably wasn't going to come in as a first-time candidate and flip the district. Mm-hmm. But we were able to move the district 3 points towards the Democrats in a year when most districts went the other way. So what that tells me is that I think we're on the right track. We've got the right message. I'm the right candidate. What I needed was more time and more money. And that's what made me decide to jump in real early this time, is that's, I think with the longer lead time, more time to reach out to people, we've got a real shot at flipping this district.
What are folks talking about in that district? What is the give me the top three issues? Like seriously, not just like what you're campaigning on, but the top issue 1, 2, or 3 that folks are actually talking about, that they're saying, if you get in, when you win, here's what needs to be addressed right away.
So the first thing that everybody always says, kind of no matter what, is about the economy, whether it's tariffs today or, minimum wage or the price of groceries. I think everybody's lives revolve around their family budget. And so, like I said, it kind of varies in exactly the way it's framed, but that's really the top thing that people talk about. And then really a big second is concern about Trump and just the absolute chaos that is happening in DC right now. I think a lot of people are, I would say, rightfully concerned at the strength of our democracy. And so I think, between those two things, I would say those really are the biggest issues, that people want someone that's going to take the economy seriously for the average person, and they want someone that's not going to bend over backward to let a president do whatever he wants, which is basically Mike Collins' playbook.
It's interesting. You have to kind of walk a tightrope. You don't want to necessarily be running on what the right will call TDS, Trump Derangement Syndrome.
Oh, yeah.
But you do have to point out that you are running in a district where one of the chief enablers of the MAGA decade is a representative like Mike Collins. It's hard to distance the two.
I think it's like you just said, it's a kind of tightrope you have to walk, and the way that I think about it is what's most important is meeting people's needs. And, I think it's an easy comparison to Trump and MAGA Republicans that, that's not really what they're interested in. But I think you also, to me, I think it's missing the moment if you don't acknowledge the reality of this Trump presidency. So, I try to focus on meeting people's needs and, their kind of daily concerns. But I also, if people bring it up, I'm happy to talk about Trump and MAGA Republicans as well, because I think it's just as serious.
There has to be some fatigue, even from those who are middle ground, maybe even slightly right of center, of the MAGA experience. We've experienced this now for a decade, whether campaigning, presiding now in a second term. There has to be some sort of fatigue, even amongst those who may have been soft supporters of Donald Trump. Is there a tactic? Have you and your staffers, your consultants, have you talked about how to reach out to them while also campaigning on an anti-Trump agenda? In doing so, trying not to insult the very voter that you're trying to reach out to. It's a difficult. It's threading a needle, right?
Sure, and I would say that's kind of central to my platform and just me as a person, is kind of connecting with everyone. It's definitely hard, but I would kind of look back again to the previous campaign. One of the things that really touched me was after the election, somebody reached out to me that, I had kind of gone back and forth with on social media a few times.
Okay.
I would consider more or less a MAGA type.
Yeah.
And he told me I was the one Democrat he voted for, because even though we disagree on a lot of policies, he believes that, my top interest is doing what's right for people. So I think first and foremost, you just have to actually try to talk to those people and, go where they are, meet them on the issues that are important to them. And I think, once you kind of open that door, it's a lot easier to have those hard conversations than, messaging on social media or through ads, whatever. So I think for me, the most important thing is like actually talking to real people about issues in their lives. And then they understand the politics of campaigning a little better.
Your district, it's funny. I was struck by this. We were talking before we came on. I went through Marjorie Taylor Greene's district this weekend to go participate in the Rome, Georgia Pride Festival. And I'm driving through, and the whole time I'm thinking, I don't see anything that her being in office has done for this district. Like, literally, I can't see anything that
Absolutely.
she can put her fingerprints on and say, yeah, I helped to bring that legislation or that. The same can be said for Mike Collins and Georgia's 10th congressional district. I mean, you can look around and what do you find that you can actually see that he actually had an impact on? It's difficult. It's really hard, is it not?
Oh, yeah. I mean, what's funny is I see pictures of him showing up for ribbon cuttings
Of course.
to things he's never worked on,
Yeah.
And I think if it was something where he could say, oh, this is a project that we take really seriously. We've been, trying to get this built for a year or, years, it would be different. But yeah, he's done absolutely nothing. He is, his only goal is to go to DC and give him and his friends tax cuts. I mean, it is really kind of the rich old Republican playbook. And, I think people are realizing that. I think they really are.
Well, and the one big beautiful bill is going to feature some cuts to Medicare and Medicaid, whether they want to admit it or not. They're looking to cut funding for those two crucial services, and that is going to, in your district, that is going to impact MAGA Republican voters. But I mean, does xenophobia and anti-trans rhetoric trump the actual impact of that monthly, expense of that cost to cover healthcare and social wellness for even MAGA Republicans who are receiving it?
I don't think so. I think if this bill gets passed as they want it to be, with a lot of those policies like cutting Medicare and Medicaid, I think people are going to feel that immediately, and they're going to. That's going to change their perspective, because what I hear from people is that they don't believe those programs are going to get cut. And I think, I talk about this all the time. One of my biggest issues with politics and, kind of people in general is that they will start to care about things when it directly affects them. And, I think the good and bad of that is this is going to affect people that weren't caring about these issues before. So I think we're going to see a real shift when these cuts actually happen. Yeah,
so that's a little bit of my conversation with Democrat Lexi Doherty, who's already on the ground, has been for more than 7 weeks on the ground and running to succeed Mike Collins in his congressional district in Northeast Georgia. We will share a little bit more of that conversation. I've got, another 7-8 minutes or so from where I spoke to her about 7 weeks ago here on this very show. And I feel like it's worth boosting her profile a little bit more just to let folks who are part of my national audience know that we've got boots on the ground in Georgia here trying to fight the good fight. Plus, I'll put our campaign link in the show notes at ronshowatl.com. Wink, wink. You can follow The Ron Show on your preferred social media platforms at Ron Show ATL. You can call the show 404-919-2725 voicemail or text if you'd like. You can also email me, Ron, at ronshowatl.com. So with Mike Collins entering the race for the U.S. Senate on the Republican side for the 2026 seat that Senator John Ossoff now currently and eloquently, I believe, occupies, that leaves a vacancy for his congressional seat in Northeast Georgia. And it was 7 weeks ago that we had the Democratic candidate who tried to unseat him in 2024 and is back on the streets again in this heat. My goodness, I hope she's hydrating and using the sunscreen and taking breaks, long breaks when necessary, and all that good stuff. Hydrate today for tomorrow, I say. Anyway, Lexi Doherty was on this show about 7 weeks ago when we were discussing the campaign to succeed Mike Collins, whether Mike Collins was going to run for it again or not. And I figured today would be a good day to revisit that interview. So let's get right back to that conversation back in mid-June. And we'll pick up where I asked her about her background and what she believes about that makes her the right candidate for Georgia's 10th congressional district.
I think kind of to understand where I want to get to, you got to understand where I came from, right? So I grew up kind of working middle-class family. Both my parents worked. My mom had a small business. So I really grew up kind of terrorizing her customers, if I'm being honest. But I saw a lot of what happened behind the scenes and how much work it went into running that business
Yeah.
and keeping things afloat. And then the Great Recession happened,
Yeah.
and like immediately people's spending habits changed.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of watched the slow decline of her store and my entire town, and saw a ton of small businesses close with no support from the government, right? When banks were getting bailed out, small businesses were getting nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So I just see that government has the power and the ability to help people, and they're not doing that. They're doing the exact opposite of that in a lot of cases.
Yeah, it feels like the last 4 decades or so, we've seen this environment where big business gets the breaks, even subsidies, in some levels. A community like the one you grew up in, for example, would have bent over backwards to do everything they can to offset the cost for, say, a big box retailer to come move in. But that big box retailer not only gets the breaks, but also is going to put a lot of the Main Street businesses out of business. And that's all been through the benefit of local, sometimes state, and even federal governance,
absolutely
coughing up the brakes while the mom and pop shops get nothing.
Yeah, it really is kind of disgusting the more you look into it. My mom likes to say it's capitalized gains, socialized losses.
Yeah,
That when business is good, we're all capitalism. But when those big businesses start to go under, then the government's kind of hand over fist supporting them.
Your district was front and center in the immigration debate in the 2024 cycle. I was reading an article early this morning, CNN posted, less than 10% of immigrants taken into ICE custody since October have had serious criminal convictions. Less than 10%. Your district was the heart and center of the discussion on immigration and safety in this country. Of course, the murder of Laken Riley just off the campus at the University of Georgia in Athens. They implored us to say her name, and yet it feels as if she was just used, and that's how I felt all along, as a political game piece to gin up xenophobia and stir up votes, while, of course, Donald Trump insisted Congress do nothing on immigration policy. Reading that data this morning, it just angers me that much more. I wanted to get your reaction to that.
Yeah, I think you are spot on. This poor young woman, her death was used for politics. I think that's all it was, right? And what really gets me is that the Laken Riley bill, that doesn't solve the immigration crisis in this country.
No.
It's a Band-Aid after the fact at best. I think that's even being generous. When I talk to people, the vast majority of people understand that most immigrants are here for a better life. Right? We all learned this in elementary school. We are a nation of immigrants. I have 3 immigrants in my immediate family, or, like cousins and aunts. And they all are just like every immigrant that comes here. They want a better life. They are here to support their family. And that is both legal immigrants and undocumented immigrants. The vast majority of them are here to work and provide a better life for their families. And, I think about the big picture that we have had a broken immigration system for decades.
Yeah.
And both parties have failed to take it seriously, make any meaningful reforms to our immigration system. And so we are looking at an issue that is by design. This is a manufactured crisis that we could solve, but they don't want to solve it. They want to use it as a talking point.
Right.
And I think just everything that's going on points directly to that, because it's not like previous presidents weren't deporting people, but it was not used as a show like it is now. So it just all makes me furious, I'll be honest.
Well, and Trump last week wanted to backtrack a little bit and say, well, I'm hearing from the hospitality industry and restaurants and farmers that maybe we need to relax on the ICE deportations, the mass deportations of those employees, which to me is just like, our economy needs those immigrants. So maybe we'll continue to allow them to be used by for-profit industry that has been skirting laws for decades themselves. We're not talking about those illegal criminals, just the ones who are here to, escape whatever economic or criminal or war-torn or environmental impacts in their home. People don't want to leave their home country unless they absolutely have to, and we don't seem to understand that as a society here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think you nailed it. The fact that they are loosening up on certain industries tells us everything we need to know, which is that our economy relies on the labor of these people. And a mass deportation is not good for anyone. It's not good for the families. It's not good for the businesses. It's not good for our economy as a whole. So there is an option, which is making the undocumented people documented. There are so many people that are undocumented that just are desperate to be able to be here legally so that they are protected. So there are more options than they want to talk about. I don't think anyone disagrees with violent criminals being deported, right? But that's what they want you to think.
Yeah.
That's what they want, that the left just wants these people here apparently to swing votes or something.
Right.
But that's just not true. And I think we would all rather a functional immigration system where we have a secure border and legal immigration that supports our economy. I think that's really what it comes down to.
Lexi Doherty running for Georgia's 10th Congressional District. I want to thank you for spending some time with me this morning. Folks can visit your website. That would be just simply lexidoherty.com, right?
Yep, love that. Apparently there's not many Lexi Dohertys out there.
No, that's a good thing. Yeah, I'll put that link in the show notes at ronshowatl.com. Best of luck to you, ma'am, and do stay in touch. Let us know if you ever need some more time on the show, okay?
Yeah, happy to come back anytime. Thanks, Ron.
This is The Ron Show on America One Radio.
So I'm going to confess, I have always been a fan of Chip and Joanna Gaines. The show Fixer Upper, HGTV, that couple. They're sweet. They're so sweet. And their love of each other and their kid, it's really cute. I can't help it. It's much the same thing that, I can't help that I like the taste of Chick-fil-A chicken sandwiches and the waffle fries. I know. There's that. Folks want to pull my gay card for it. I can't. First of all, the controversy surrounding Chick-fil-A to me is like water under the bridge. Now, for Chick-fil-A's part anyway, it's not as if there's money that can be going towards conversion therapy camps or any of that kind of crap anymore, because those have been outlawed. Although you're starting to hear noise about some legislative. Well, if it happens, it happens. Let's see where it goes. But in the meanwhile, right now, Chick-fil-A is just a chain of chicken sandwiches that has had some issues in the. Listen, Volkswagen was a Nazi. So to me, it's water under the bridge. And if we're keeping it real, their service is better. Food's good. They're actually really fast. They know how to work a twin drive-through better than most. I love Popeyes too, and Popeyes. In fact, there's a Popeyes right next to the Chick-fil-A where I live, and I have that choice if I want chicken. Do I go to Popeyes or do I go to Chick-fil-A? It really just depends on do I have the time, because I do prefer Popeyes chicken, but if I'm in a hurry and I need to be treated kindly, not that the Popeyes people aren't. For the most part, they tend to be here, but sometimes you just. Sometimes you just need that hug. You know what I mean? Anyway, so for me, the Chip, but this is the same thing I have with Chip and Joanna Gaines. A lot of LGBTQIA plus folks have had issues with Chip and Joanna Gaines for never featuring a same-sex couple on their TV show Fixer Upper. To which I would say, how many same-sex couples are moving to Waco, Texas? I mean, seriously. I know it's a university town. It's a Baptist university town, however. But still, it's a university town, and there's probably, I'm sure, LGBTQIA plus people moving to Waco, but it can't be you really have to work hard to find. I'm half joking, but I'm being kind of serious. Gay people aren't moving to towns like Waco, Texas. So I kind of give them a mulligan on that. And through all that controversy that I thought was just sort of a controversy folks were looking to make up, because again, how can you quantify that Chip and Joanna Gaines would be anti-gay if, just based on the fact that they've never had a same-sex couple on their show, if you don't know that anyone's ever come to them and said, hey, I know a nice lesbian couple or a nice gay couple that's moving to Waco, and they'd be great for your show. Do you know that that's even come to fruition? I don't. And they've been a little dodgy in the answering of questions, but I think their answer has always been one of true faith and love, and not really speaking to gay rights or whether homosexuality is a sin or whatnot. I think they've been as transparent as could be, knowing, by the way, that there's always that element on the far right that is going to pillory them if they say the wrong things. So I kind of understand why they've done the tap dance that they've done. Well, the tap dance is over. I don't know if any of you are watching the show Back to the Frontier. I am obsessed. I love this show. I love period television anyway, and I really love the idea of a reality TV show that pits people back in an era that they're wholly unfamiliar with. The concept of time travel, I think, fascinates a lot of people because we'd all like to go back in time. Like, I wouldn't want to go to the future. I don't want to move forward in time. I don't want to know things. You know what I mean? I don't want to see where things go. I'm already pessimistic about the future as it is. My God, we're living under this heat dome right now, and climate change is. I mean, there's this. This is starting to become untenable already. What is the next 50 years going to? I don't want to see it. I just don't want to know. I'd rather not know. But I would like to go back in time. I would love to experience what it's like to live for a short period of time, mind you, because the lack of air conditioning looks really daunting. But I would like to go back in time to just sort of, and I think that's why, like, we go to like Renaissance festivals. It's like why we like to go to theme parks where they have themed areas, and it's why we like to watch period pieces when it comes to movies and television. So they're Back to the Frontier show. It's a new series where they challenge these families to live as if they're like 1880s homesteaders without any of these modern conveniences like electricity or indoor plumbing, running water, air conditioning. And so the show focuses on the experiences and challenges that these families are faced as they have to adapt to a way more dressed down and simpler way of life. And so the show rolled out on the Magnolia Network and on HBO Max. And, oh my God, there's a same-sex couple on it. And by the way, a very nice same-sex couple with twin boys that they're raising. And I mean, these guys they just seem like nice guys, the kind of guys that, I'd hang out with for sure and would, be their crazy Uncle Ron or whatever. The kids are not, well, they're spoiled. The kids are really spoiled. Not going to lie. But these dads have done a really good job raising them. And it's kind of cool to watch as this show rolls out how parents of all three families work with their kids, and also, by the way, work with the other two families or don't. There's already a little bit of drama, and it's not even about the gay couple and their kids. Like, they're not even involved in this drama already. I'm 3 episodes in, by the way. Is there a 4th episode? I don't know. I just started watching it last week. But let me read to you a piece that came from People magazine. Following the July 10th premiere on Magnolia Network and HBO Max, evangelical pastor Franklin Graham, the son of evangelist Billy Graham, slammed the DIY duo on Twitter X for featuring a same-sex couple. Just having them on the show. A moment that drew attention due to Chip and Joanna's well-known Christian beliefs. The couple featured are Jason Hanna and Joe Riggs, who appear on the show with their 10-year-old twin sons, Ethan and Lucas. Hannah told People ahead of the premiere that being part of the series was especially meaningful. He said, "It's important for us as a two-dad family. I think that puts more pressure on us as two dads to make sure that we are just like every other family." He said, and so we are extremely proud and thankful that we had that opportunity to represent what our family looks like relative to every other family. And ultimately, that's just what we are. It's just another family. On July 12th, Graham publicly criticized Chip and Joanna for featuring the same-sex couple in their new Magnolia Network series, Back to the Frontier. He said, "I hope this isn't true, but I read today that Chip and Joanna Gaines are featuring a gay couple on their new series. If it is true, it is very disappointing. While we are to love people, we should love them enough to tell them the truth of God's word. His word is absolute truth. God loves us, and his design for marriage is between one man and one woman. Promoting something that God defines as sin is in itself sin." Back to the Frontier, premiering on July 10th, follows three families, including Hannah and Riggs, as they attempt to live like 19th century homesteaders. Speaking to LGBTQ plus outlet Queerty, Hannah also called the experience a great, amazing opportunity to normalize same-sex couples and same-sex families. On July 13th, Chip responded to the backlash in a post on X, writing that asking questions, listening, and learning were, quote, too much to ask of modern American Christian culture. He wrote, and very tongue-in-cheek here, judge first, understand later or never, he continued. It's a sad Sunday when non-believers have never been confronted with hate or vitriol until they are introduced to a modern American Christian. And then he had the heartbreak emoji. He also replied to several critical messages from fans. When one person commented that they were sad and would no longer let their kids watch the show, Chip responded, plenty of other stuff out there. I'm sure everyone will be fine. Hannah, by the way, addressed the backlash with a message on his Instagram stories highlighting the importance of representation that he shared the following day. He said, representation matters deeply, especially for those of us who are still finding the courage to live their truth. When families like ours are visible, it opens doors for others to feel safe, loved, and validated. Visibility isn't just about being seen. It's about making sure no one feels alone. Now, this People article, and you know I'm going to put it in the show notes at ronshowatl.com, dived into some of the controversy before from there not being outwardly LGBTQI plus embracive or whatever, or, with the perception anyway, just based on the fact that their TV show Fixer Upper never focused on a same-sex couple or a gay man or a lesbian buying a home and fix. 2 months after, let me back up a little bit. Open about their role the faith plays in their lives. In 2016, BuzzFeed News raised questions about how those beliefs may have influenced their show Fixer Upper. 2 months after the BuzzFeed News article was published, Chip addressed the controversy in a since-deleted blog post on the Magnolia Market website, calling for unity despite differences. He said, it's not about what color your skin is, how much money you have in the bank, your political affiliation, sexual orientation, gender, nationality, or faith. That's all fascinating, he said, but it cannot add or take away from the reality that we're already pulling for you. How can you not like these people? He said, we're not about to get in the nasty business of throwing stones at each other. Don't ask us to because we won't play that way. This article continues. A 2021 interview with The Hollywood Reporter, Joanna became emotional when discussing the public criticism she and Chip have received. Now, this is the criticism about them being perceived as not being inclusive. Not that there's evidence of it. The accusations that get thrown at you, like you're a racist or you don't like people in the LGBTQ community, that's the stuff that really eats my lunch. I can just hear her saying that, just eats my lunch. She's got the sweet little Southern accent. That just eats my lunch, she says, because it's so far from who we really are. That's the stuff that keeps me up. Man, I'm telling you, I'm enjoying this show, and the inclusion of the same-sex couple, to me, isn't even so much a distraction of the, like, they don't even make it part of the trials and tribulations that exist on the show to begin with. It's a good show. First of all, I'm fascinated. I would watch it if there weren't a same-sex couple, because I'm just fascinated with the idea of being thrown into the 1880s and having to, figure out how to make sure that you can use the outhouse and the correct way to do it and what the newspaper's there for. Like, there was just a poignant, like, almost emotional moment where one of the wives on the show, she quickly realized there's no moisturizing facial regimen, and that's outdoor plumbing you got to use, and like no wet wipes and no bidet. She had a moment. She broke down in front of her kids. Broke down. This is a great show. This is a really cool concept. I'm glad they're doing that. That there is a same-sex couple, to me, is sort of even secondary. But the fact that Chip and Joanna Gaines are dealing with this, to me, it makes me sad. It really does. It just shows how there's a lot of hate in the hearts of folks who profess to be Christians, who are full of love, except it has to be completely on their terms or else. And even when you have a couple like Chip and Joanna Gaines who are facing that sort of scrutiny, I don't know, I just find it heartbreaking. There are all kinds of boundaries that can be broken when we just stop to try and accept other people that may not be just like us. You know what? I have more examples of this that I want to share. Pete Buttigieg went on The Breakfast Club and revealed that, like, I didn't know this before, that the kids that he and Chasten had adopted are mixed race kids. And there are things that they have to learn about in having children of mixed race. Hair care, for example, Pete literally had to go in on a discussion with the rest of the Breakfast Show cast about hair care and the routines, and I think that's important. Then I want to share with you a little conversation that a friend of the show, Dom Kelly, shared on his social media just a few days ago. He's been sort of pen paling with a Gazan father who is not at all unlike Dom. Dom is a Jewish American raising kids, and Dom has been keeping in touch with a Palestinian Gazan who is trying to, frankly, survive, obviously. I just find that these sort of scenarios are poignant and opportunities to show that, like, our differences don't have to be so different if we just stop to talk to one another. We'll do that all when the Ron Show returns. Thank you for listening on America One Radio, Progressive Voices via TuneIn and wherever you podcast. Final few minutes of today's Ron Show. Let me pick up on the conversation. We were talking a little bit about the flack that Chip and Joanna Gaines have received for having a same-sex couple, how dare they, on their reality show, and how this is like an opportunity for actually fans of Chip and Joanna to, I don't know, be entertained and maybe learn something about people they know absolutely nothing about. That's how we grow as a society. That's how we are able to coexist. Pete Buttigieg, who obviously we all know is a gay man, a married gay man with 2 adopted kids. Didn't know this. They're mixed race. He was on the Breakfast Club, and Charlamagne the God actually went in on that.
You know, I saw you on the Flagrant podcast with my guy, Andrew Schultz. I didn't know that you had mixed race kids. I don't know why I didn't know that.
Yeah. We don't put a lot of pictures of them on the internet or, there's a lot of privacy obviously goes into that. But, yeah.
And I saw you say, you ask yourself constantly, how can I be a good dad for kids who have a different racial identity than I do? How can I help them navigate that? And for whatever reason, there was a little bit of backlash to those comments, and I don't know why.
Crazy.
I thought those were great questions to ask yourself.
I mean, yeah, obviously, we're white. Our kids are mixed race. Mm-hmm. They're going to be, as they grow older, there's going to be dimensions of their lives that I will do everything I can as a father, as a loving father, to make sure that they succeed. But there will be parts of their lives that I can't really draw on personal experience to help guide them through. And so it's a lot of making sure that they have mentors and role models, other examples in their lives to help them navigate all of that. But it's just been such a blessing, and it's a new challenge every day, but it's the best, hardest thing in my life.
Who are some of those people? Like, who's the black friends you call?
Oh, you wouldn't believe. So the advice that came in from like the first moment, I had a Navy buddy who saw a couple of pictures of them from a thing we were at the White House on and said, we got to talk about hair. And immediately wanted to make sure that, because just hair products alone. And by the way, being a girl dad was intimidating to begin with, right? And then there's everything that comes with that, finding the right products for Gus, our little guy, for Penelope, our daughter, just learning all of that. Like, nobody in my immediate family of white relatives knows a lot about that, but lots of friends do.
You don't know how to braid?
I got you.
I got to figure it out.
Cantu, olive oil, shea moisture, and then get the wide tooth comb. Don't get the small teeth comb because that's going to pull a hair out because we got thicker hair.
Yeah, we learned that the hard way. Yeah, the Cantu, and then we got the Young King for him. It's like a 3-step sequence. It's
listen to this. He's sitting here going into like how he's learned about hair care. By the way, can I just say that this is the comedian in me going, why did you name mixed race babies Gus and Penelope? I mean, that's a hate crime. Those are really white names. What did you do, dude? I'm kidding, obviously. I think that's a beautiful thing. But here was another poignant moment that I thought was just beautiful. This is how we grow as a society, y'all. Learning about each other and our experiences, learning about other perspectives. I see this even within the LGBTQ plus community where folks don't even want to stop to consider the lived experiences of the TQIA plus. A log cabin Republican who stays on my Facebook feed. I don't like the algorithms now. I'm always going to see this ignorant bullshit from him because he is all about the LGBs and usually has a lot of old white male queens chiming in agreement because that's what he is. Never mind the fact that like here in Atlanta, like he serves in like a nonprofit role too. He's served on a couple at least nonprofit roles on boards and for organizations that serves the greater LGBTQIA plus community, and yet he on his own personal social media is as anti-TQI plus as can be. It's gross. You know what? I'm not even going to give that guy any much more attention than he already gets. I do want to talk about Dom Kelly, though. We've had him on the show several times. Jewish American. He is the founder and CEO of the New Disabled South Rising. He was born with a cerebral palsy, has a beautiful wife and children, and he shared this yesterday morning, writing on Facebook, "The last couple of months, I have connected with a man in Gaza named Ahmed. He and his family have been living in a tent trying to survive. We are around the same age. He is a father, like me, with young children. Like me, he lost his mother, like me, a few years ago. His youngest child is a daughter, my daughter's age. 3 weeks ago, he posted about how happy he was that he found a grape to feed her. A single grape. Meanwhile, I can buy my daughter whatever food she needs. All he wants to do is survive and provide for his family, like the rest of us. It's why his message to me this morning made me sob, particularly this part. It reminded me the real war is not between religions, it's between the hearts that love and the hearts that hate. And extremists exist in every religion. They are the ones destroying the world, not faith, not identity, not belief." Wow, that is so powerful. It's not a public Facebook post, at least not now anyway, so I've asked Dom if he'll somehow blog it or make it shareable some sort of way so that you guys can enjoy this conversation as well, because it's so heartwarming. And now it's personal, because obviously we're pulling from millions of people to survive this war. Even Donald Trump has now finally realized, wow, those kids look like they're starving, and is sort of pointing to the fact that like Israel's not doing enough to ensure that we're not killing people by starvation, and that we're going to do more. Here again, Trump has found himself right where Joe Biden wanted to be a year ago. Anyway, Ahmed wrote to Dom, and he said, "I've been reading your posts, and I just wanted to tell you how deeply they resonate with me. The way you speak about injustice, silence, and the pain of this world. It's powerful. It gives us here in Gaza a sense that we're not forgotten. I want to be honest with you about something. When I first came across your profile and I saw that you were Jewish, I hesitated. Not because of you, but because of everything we've been through here. The trauma, the war, the propaganda, the pain. But then I started reading your words, and I saw a human being, not a label. A kind, brave, and honest soul. And I realized that people like you are exactly what this world needs. People who rise above religion, politics, and hate, and simply stand for what is right. It reminded me," he wrote, "the real war is not between religions, it's between the hearts that love and the hearts that hate. And extremists exist in every religion. They're the ones destroying this world, not faith, not identity, not belief. So I want to thank you," Ahmed wrote to Dom, "not just for your donations and for sharing my story, but for being you, a voice of humanity in a world drowning in silence. I truly hope we stay in touch, and one day if we meet, I'll thank you in person. With a warm embrace from Gaza, from someone who once hesitated, but now calls you brother, with deep respect and gratitude, Ahmed." Dom responded, "Wow, Ahmed, this brings tears to my eyes. You are exactly right, that it is those of us who love who need to keep fighting those who hate. I really would love to meet you one day, and I am very grateful that we connected across the world. Please stay safe and always reach out if I can help in any other way. If you ever get to come to America, you and your family have a place to stay." Ahmed said, "Your words truly moved me. I read them with a heart full of emotion and gratitude. What you said gave me hope in a time when we are surrounded by so much despair. Yes, love must keep fighting, and knowing that people like you exist in this world makes that fight feel possible. I dream of the day we meet in person, and I tell my children, this is one of the kind souls who stood by us when the world turned its back. Your offer to host us in America, it touched me deeply. It means more than I can express in words. If that day ever comes, it would be an honor to meet you and thank you face to face. Until then, please know that you have family in Gaza who will always carry your name in their prayers and their hearts with deep appreciation, Ahmed." Y'all, that's what it's all about. Right, left, center, far left, far right, Christian, Muslim, non-denominational, atheist. That's what it's all about. I started this conversation just based off a innocuous reality TV show that doesn't mean shit to the world, to the greater good. It's just entertainment, And even in entertainment, a well-meaning couple who launched that show brought another well-meaning couple with 2 kids onto that show and faced hate for it. And that is the epicenter of what is wrong with us societally, globally, and we can fix it by being more like Dom and Ahmed. That's going to do it for today's Ron Show. We air weekdays 9 a.m., 5 p.m. on America One Radio, 11 p.m. Progressive Voices via TuneIn and Roku Podcast. Show notes at ronshowatl.com. Take care, and do your part to help love overcome hate.